Number 1.
Monsiv was last seen leaving her ex-boyfriend's apartment in the Lower Main area of Wailuku, Hawaii between 10 o'clock and 10:30 p.m. on January 12, 2014. He said she got picked up by someone while he was asleep. She may have been seen in a black Dodge Niro, a 1994 Buick Park Avenue Ultra, or a white Ford Ranger with California license plates. She has never been heard from again. Monsiv's ex-boyfriend, Bernard Brown, said she told him there were problems with her car. He reportedly dropped it off at a repair shop on January the 13th, and when the police picked it up on January the 14th, the day Monsiv was reported missing, there was nothing wrong with it. On January the 16th, Monsiv's purse and some of her personal belongings were found in a dumpster at the Velma McWayne Santos Community Center, which was within walking distance of Brown's home. Monsiv's family and friends suspected Brown was involved, and stated she had told them her relationship with Brown was mentally abusive, and that she was terrified of him. Monsiv had told a friend Brown had threatened to beat her, and that he was vindictive, and she didn't trust him. A photo of Brown is posted with this case summary. He moved to California after Monsiv's disappearance. In September 2019, he was arrested there and charged with her murder. Authorities haven't provided much information about the case against him. It's uncharacteristic of Monsiv to leave without warning, and she's described as a devoted mother who wouldn't have abandoned her children. Her daughter and her older son were adults at the time of her disappearance, but her younger son was still in high school. Foul play is suspected in her case due to the circumstances involved.
Number 2.
It's been 2 years since Kianna Coles, a young, pregnant U.S. postal worker, disappeared from her Chicago neighborhood without a trace. There's still no sign of her, with the mysterious case classified by Chicago police as a high-risk missing person investigation with potential foul play suspected. Each day brings more pain and frustration for Cole's mother, Karen Phillips, who is begging for anybody to come forward with information. On October 2, 2018, Coles, who was 26 years old and about 3 months pregnant, vanished on Chicago's South Side. Her car was found in front of her apartment with her phone and packed lunch still inside. Phillips said she has no idea what happened to her daughter. She said she tries not to overthink the possibilities, because the first few months of the disappearance, the stress made her physically sick. That's a big thing that I struggle with every day. What really happened? I don't know if she's being tortured or if she's safe or what, Phillips told us. Sometimes I just have to completely put it out of my mind because it'll wreck you. Her mind also drifts to thoughts of the grandchild her daughter was carrying. He or she will almost be 2. And not knowing if she's out there, the baby's out there, if they're together, it's hurting, she said. Coles was the last of Phillips' children to have a baby, and the entire family was excited to see her as a new mother, especially Coles herself. Phillips said Coles seemed happy in their last conversation. Coles asked her mother for advice on what milk to drink during pregnancy. In that last conversation, Coles also told her mother that her boyfriend was planning to come over the night of October 2, Phillips said. Phillips said the last time she saw the boyfriend was when she filed the missing person report, and after that, he vanished. Coles' boyfriend could not be reached by us, and the Chicago police declined to comment about him, citing the ongoing investigation. When it comes to the investigation, Phillips said she feels the police just put the case to the side because they're frustrated with it. It's already frustrating that it's gonna be 2 years, and for y'all the Chicago Police Department to say y'all don't have enough to go on, it's really disappointing, she said. Chicago police told us, at this point, anybody with knowledge of her last whereabouts is asked to contact the Chicago Police Department, as we are seeking any and all information in an attempt to locate her, and we won't stop until we do. However, Cole's case is considered suspended, added police spokeswoman Sally Bown. Suspended means the case cannot be continued further at this time, Bown told us. There are many possibilities such as having exhausted all the available evidence. A suspended case can always be reopened if more evidence becomes available. The United States Postal Inspection Service, which is involved in the investigation because Coles was a postal worker, said in a statement, Chicago Division postal inspectors continue to investigate the whereabouts of USPS employee Kianna Coles. If you have information that will help us locate Kianna Coles, please contact the U.S. Postal Inspection Service at 877-876-2455, and sale or enforcement. You may be eligible for a reward of up to $25,000. The FBI, also part of the case, deferred comment to the Chicago police. With no leads, Natalie Wilson, co-founder of Black and Missing Foundation Incorporated, is urging the community to get involved. People forget these cases because as time goes on they believe the individual may have been found or that they are deceased. But we hold on to hope, Wilson told us. This year, other competing priorities, like the pandemic and the presidential election, are definitely hampering the awareness of missing persons cases, Wilson noted. We are not seeing as many missing persons reported in the media, however our caseload has increased dramatically, she said. You would think with the pandemic, people are home. But no, it has increased. We receive calls from family members many times during the day asking for assistance finding their missing loved ones. Share Kianna's profile, because we believe someone knows something, Wilson urged. If it were your family member you would want someone to come forward with information. Wilson added, if you don't feel comfortable reporting it to law enforcement, please come to our website and report the tip anonymously. We promise you we will not in any way disclose your identity. But her family deserves answers. For Cole's mother, as each day passes, she's looking for leads, just hoping somebody will come forward. Somebody knows something other than the person that did whatever happened, she said. For you to just sit there and not say nothing. I just wish somebody would have a heart to say, I'm gonna give this family some justice. Any small lead can lead to what really happened, Phillips said. That's all I'm really praying for.
Number 3.
Kianna was last seen in South Elgin, Illinois on May 6, 2016. At 12:30 p.m., she told a family member she was going to walk to Jim Hansen Park and would return in a few hours. She never returned and has never been heard from again. Although many agencies classify Kianna as a runaway, investigators don't believe she left of her own accord. She had never run away from home before, and none of her friends or family members have heard from her since she disappeared. She also left behind her wallet, purse and cell phone charger, and she has no car, bank account or credit cards. Her cellular phone hasn't been used since 2 p.m. the day she went missing. Kianna had been on juvenile probation prior to her disappearance, and her probationary period had recently ended. She had attended South Elgin High School and then Auburn High School in Rockford, Illinois, and was working on getting a GED. She was thinking of attending an art and design school in Atlanta, Georgia. She wasn't dating anyone at the time of her disappearance. She'd recently broken up with her ex-boyfriend, but he's been ruled out as a suspect in her case. The day before her disappearance, Kianna was fired from her job, but she seemed to be cheerful when she was last seen. Authorities stated that instead of going to the park on the day she disappeared, Kianna went to visit a man who lived in the basement of a residence on Revere Road. She had arranged to meet the man to get some marijuana. The man was questioned by police and said she never went inside his house, and that she had left at 12:45 p.m. while texting another man, but Kianna's cellular phone records show there were no texts sent between 12:35 p.m., when she texted the Revere Road man to say she was on her way to his house, and 1:10 p.m., when her phone was disconnected from the cellular network. Authorities believe its battery was removed or the phone completely destroyed. The man's next-door neighbor contradicted his statement, saying he saw Kianna go inside his house. The same neighbor found blood on his garbage can lid on May the 12th, 6 days after Kianna's disappearance. The blood was later confirmed to be Kianna's. The man Kianna visited on the day of her disappearance was later convicted of assaulting a woman and sentenced to 15 years in prison. He has not been named as a suspect in her disappearance, but he is a person of interest, and police searched his residence in November 2016. What, if anything, was recovered has not been released to the public. Foul play is suspected in Kianna's disappearance. Authorities believe she was murdered shortly after she disappeared. Her disappearance remains unsolved.
Number 4.
Authorities believe father of 2 Jed Hanna was looking for help when he disappeared. His 1990 GMC Sierra truck was found abandoned and out of gas parked on Jolliffe Bridge Road, an isolated area more than 70 miles from his home. 2 witnesses reported seeing him in the area. One told authorities they believe it was Jed who knocked on their door around 8:30 a.m. asking for directions to a nearby town. Sunday marked 6 years since that July weekend when Jed vanished. And police are nowhere closer to answers. With every search you get your hopes up that maybe this time you will find him and we can have closure, Heather Hanna, Jed's sister, told us. We have chased guys down because they looked like Jed from the back, hoping and wanting it to be him. It's still unclear exactly what Jed, 28 at the time, was doing in Clinton County, Illinois that weekend. His family believes he may have been in the area to go fishing. His sister Heather said he had recently been talking about taking his 2 daughters fishing before he went back to work, although the girls were with their mother that weekend. What is known is that Jed didn't arrive to pick up the girls, 3 and 6 at the time, from their mother on July the 3rd. There were no calls or texts from him explaining his absence. Calls to his phone went straight to voicemail. For his sister Heather, that was an immediate red flag. From the phone call through the first week, it felt like a nightmare, Heather said. We were up all day searching and couldn't sleep at night. I was up with the girls crying all night. When authorities called Jed and Heather's mother on July the 5th to tell her Jed's car was found abandoned, Heather said it confirmed their worst fears. Jed would never have just left his girls. Something had to have happened to him for him to disappear, she told us. Several extensive searches of the area where Jed was last seen were conducted. Volunteers on ATVs and horseback combed the woods and farm fields nearby. No solid leads were uncovered. Later that summer, a black duffel bag belonging to Jed was found 5 miles from where the truck had been found. It was wet and underneath a deer stand. Authorities believe it had been there since Jed disappeared. No leads were uncovered from the bag, officials said. Over the years, rumors and hearsay have swirled around Jed's disappearance. The last confirmed sighting of Jed was at 11:45 a.m. on July the 2nd on security images at a local food mart. His cell phone last pinged off a tower in Centralia, nearly 2 hours from that food mart, around 9:30 p.m. that night. After that, the phone was either turned off or died. Some reported seeing him at 2 bars in Alton, Illinois, an hour and a half west of Centralia, the night of July 2. Those sightings haven't been confirmed. Although 2 witnesses reported seeing him, or someone who resembled him, the morning of July 3, it's difficult to confirm if that person asking for directions was Jed. Officials with the Clinton County Sheriff's Department, with assistance from the Jersey County Sheriff's Department, continue to investigate. Despite chasing down a number of leads over the years, an official with the Clinton County Sheriff's Department told us none has panned out. Jed's family is concerned that incorrect information has been circulated in the years since Jed's disappearance. But in their eyes, as long as someone knows he is missing, maybe they can help bring him home. Another year has gone by without any information, and we're hoping that maybe someone will come forward with just the right piece of information that we need to finally find him, Heather told us. Jed Hanna is described as 5'7" tall, weighing 195 pounds with black hair and brown eyes. Anyone with information regarding his whereabouts is urged to call the Clinton County Sheriff's Department at 618-594-4555. Clinton County Crime Stoppers is offering a $5,000 reward for information that leads to Jed.
Number 5.
Family and friends said Wolfe-Orlovich was doing just that in July, when she left her Marina, Illinois, home to drive an acquaintance to Chicago, where he said his son had been slain. The man, who she knew as Snoop, said he couldn't drive himself because he was too distraught, and his license had been suspended. Wolfe-Orlovich, 46, was never seen alive again. Authorities in LaPorte County, Indiana, announced Tuesday that Lynn Ware Jr. has been charged with murder after human remains found in a Springfield Township cornfield in October were positively identified as belonging to the missing woman. Ware, 39, of Martin, Tennessee, was being held in the LaPorte County Jail on Wednesday. It was not immediately clear if Ware is the man who goes by the nickname Snoop. Wolfe-Orlovich's daughter, Amber Whitlock, told NBC's Us in September that she spoke to her mother on the phone every day. Their last conversation was on July the 15th. When Whitlock found her mother's cell phone had been turned off a couple of days later, she began to worry. "My mom's phone is never off," Whitlock said. "She always has it on. To play music, to play games. It's her communication. So right away, something felt wrong. It was just alarming." Wolfe-Orlovich's roommates were also concerned. The missing woman had left home on Wednesday, July the 15th with Ware, and she promised she'd be home by Friday, NBC reported. The roommates heard from Wolfe-Orlovich the following day, at which point she said she was stranded in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and needed a ride home. They were working on getting her a train or bus.
Number 6.
20-year-old Alexis Scott disappeared from Peoria, Illinois on September the 22nd, 2017. She was last seen at a house party on Richmond Avenue between the hours of 4 to 6 a.m. and hasn't been seen or heard from since. She didn't have a car and had taken a cab to the party. How she left and with whom remains unknown. Alexis Scott was last seen at a house party located in the 100 block of Richmond Avenue between the hours of 4 to 6 a.m. on September the 22nd, 2017. A cab driver dropped her off at the party and later told police that a man greeted Alexis at the cab's door and paid her fare. This is reportedly the last confirmed sighting of her. Investigators believe Alexis arrived at the house party around 5 a.m. and left shortly after. A witness stated that they saw Alexis leave the party on foot at 5:30 a.m., but that information hasn't been confirmed. The last time she used her cell phone was at 5:08 a.m. On September the 27th, Alexis's mother April called the Peoria Police Department and reported her daughter missing. Police interviewed neighbors in the area of the party, but didn't find anything. They also searched the vacant houses in the area to look for evidence of Alexis's whereabouts, but came up empty. 2 months later, in November of 2017, police conducted a search warrant on the home where the party was held, but didn't find anything that stood out. According to her family, Alexis had traveled to Las Vegas, Nevada just weeks before her disappearance. She had gone there to make some extra money dancing, but fell victim to sex trafficking and was taken to Sacramento, California. Alexis managed to escape and was found by a woman in the street. She contacted her mother and was able to get back to Peoria. Her loved ones say she was looking to get back to her normal life at the time she disappeared. Her family later found out that the man Alexis went to Las Vegas with knows the owner of the home where the house party was, and they fear she may have been trafficked again. Scott's family says it's uncharacteristic of her to leave her loved ones, especially her 2-year-old son. Her case remains unsolved. Alexis is described as a 20-year-old African-American female, standing 5'1" and weighing 115 pounds. Both of her ears are pierced. She has a pierced nose, pierced lip, and braces on her lower teeth. She has several tattoos: paw prints on her right shoulder, royalty on her left arm, Trevin on her right wrist, Tevin Jr. on her right shoulder, and Lily on her left shoulder. She was last seen wearing a white half shirt, light blue jeans and a black Victoria's Secret jacket with pink designs. If you have any information regarding the disappearance of Alexis Scott, please contact the Peoria Police Department at 309-673-4521 or Crime Stoppers at 309-673-9000.
Number 7.
Later this month will mark 1 year since 53-year-old Brookfield resident Erica Thompson went missing. The last time she was seen alive was on the afternoon of September the 25th, 2019, when a security camera captured her making a bank deposit in the Eight Corners business district, not too far from her home in the 9200 block of Monroe Avenue. During the early hours of the following morning, according to police, her cell phone traveled through several neighboring towns, including Countryside, Hodgkins, McCook, Forest View, Summit and Bridgeview. Early during the investigation, it was revealed that at some point after her disappearance, Thompson's cell phone pinged a tower in Springfield, Missouri. Other than that, however, there hasn't been a trace of either Thompson or her car, a dark purple 2014 Nissan Juke with Illinois license plate number E273380. It's just mentally exhausting. With the added stress of the pandemic, it's just amazing how hard it is, said Dana Thompson-Kujoski, who is Erica's sister, in a phone interview last week. We're still hoping that maybe she's somewhere. The police investigation so far has involved a number of agencies, including 2 suburban task forces and the FBI, which helped track cell phone data. The FBI's contribution led Brookfield Police to hire an organization to help them search waterways in the vicinity of where her phone traveled early on September the 26th, 2019. Using a sonar-equipped boat, police searched shipping canals trying to find vehicles matching the dimensions of Thompson's Nissan Juke. Only one of the dozen vehicles they found submerged in those waterways fit the dimensions of Thompson's car, but a diver sent down to investigate confirmed it was not hers. Brookfield Police Chief Edward Petrak said last week that Brookfield detectives have sought the assistance of police in other jurisdictions, though he declined to specify where exactly. From the beginning this was a case of a missing person with suspicious circumstances, Petrak said. We've handled it almost as if it was a homicide case. We're still hopeful we can find her, and we're going to keep working at this until the case is solved. Petrak said he was unable to provide any further information on whether police have interviewed anyone suspected to have been involved in Thompson's disappearance. He did mention that detectives had written 115 supplemental reports documenting their investigation, indicating they have pursued numerous leads. Kujarsky said she met in person with Brookfield detectives in late August to get an update on the investigation, describing the more than 200-page file on the investigation. But there wasn't much new police could reveal, she said. Police didn't tell me a whole lot, so what I gathered is they're still actively working on it, Kujarsky said. We're waiting for somebody to talk, because somebody knows something. Erica Thompson's son, Michael Russo, who said he's battled anxiety and depression for years, now has the added worry of saving his mother's home. Russo's aunt pointed him in the direction of an attorney to see if there's a way he can serve as the property's administrator, so he can work with his mother's lender and avoid foreclosure. Attorney Greg Martucci told the Landmark that he has filed a petition for letters of administration to collect in Cook County Probate Court. If her son, Michael J. Russo, my client, is granted letters of office, he will have authority to represent his mother's estate in matters pertaining to her property and her creditors, Martucci said. He and Russo appeared via Zoom before a judge on August the 27th, and that due to the case's unusual circumstances, the judge took the matter under advisement. We are currently monitoring the case to see whether and when the order is entered, Martucci said. Unfortunately, the clerk of the court has been slow to post the orders after they have been signed. But, so far as I can determine, there has not been any legal action filed to date with respect to the mortgage on Erica's home. Russo said the lender, which at first was willing to communicate with him, has cut off communication. He added that a bank representative indicated to him that the institution likely would seek foreclosure after 1 year of non-payment. It's unclear whether the bank will act due to the pandemic, but the property is not out of the woods. The property taxes haven't been paid for the past 2 installments and are eligible for sale, although the pandemic has delayed the tax sale indefinitely. He's set up an online fundraiser, setting a goal of $135,000. But the pitch hasn't gained much traction, raising a little more than $800 in the month since it was started. Russo said he also spoke to police recently, but, like his aunt, they didn't have much new information to reveal.
Number 8.
Vikki's husband, David Vukelich, says he last saw her on February 23, 1991, in their home in the 500 block of Tulip Drive in Glenwood, Illinois. David stated he and Vikki argued about going to a party the night of her disappearance. He went to bed and she slept on the couch. When David woke up the following morning, there was an empty glass of wine in the living room, and Vikki was gone. $8,000 was also missing from the home, but Vikki left behind her clothes, shoes, purse, driver's license, eyeglasses and contact lenses, and her 2 daughters, aged 4 and 12. David and Vikki married in 1986. They had a troubled relationship, and the police had been called to their house several times, and arrested both of them due to domestic disputes. All the charges were dismissed each time. Shortly before her disappearance, Vikki told her friends she was going to divorce David. She had filed for divorce twice previously, in 1988 and 1989, but never went through with the whole process. She had dropped the divorce suits because was not sure she could support herself financially without David's help, but she took a second job shortly before her disappearance and told her friends she was really going to do it this time. David did not report his wife missing. A friend of Vikki's filed a report on February the 28th. Neighbors stated that shortly after Vikki vanished, David did cement work in his driveway and garage, and removed carpeting from the home. He told Vikki's older daughter not to go into the basement. 2 months after his wife's disappearance, David filed for divorce. During the proceedings, he testified that Vikki frequently left him without warning for periods of time, and would then return with no explanation as to where she had been. The couple's divorce was finalized in August 1991. David remarried in 1994, but his second wife died, apparently of breast cancer, a short time later. He remarried again in 2002. He moved out of his and Vikki's home 7 months after her disappearance, and now lives in Dyer, Indiana. In 2003, authorities searched the house the Vukelichs lived in when Vikki vanished. They also exhumed David's second wife's body to look for signs of foul play. It is not known what, if any, evidence was discovered as a result of these efforts. He has not cooperated with the police in Vikki's case, and has refused to be interviewed. Vikki's older daughter was interviewed by investigators and media at that time, and stated that while her mother occasionally left the family home for short periods after fighting with David, she always kept in contact with her children. Although David is considered the prime suspect in Vikki's disappearance, he has never been charged in connection with it. Vikki's case remains unsolved. She owned a beauty parlor in South Holland, Illinois in 1991.
Number 9.
Boelter was last seen after getting off work at the Eiger grocery store in Bloomfield, Indiana at 6 p.m. on December 31, 2014. She got into a silver, beige or gold 2009 to 2011 Mercury Milan with multi-spoke rims, a spoiler and a shark fin antenna at the top, driven by a middle-aged Caucasian male with glasses. They drove off in the direction of Boelter's apartment. She was last seen near the Bloomfield Eiger. Every year that passes leaves her family heartbroken. Our hearts break all over again every New Year's Eve. While others celebrate the coming of a new year, we mourn. We don't even know what happened to her, where she is, whether we'll ever see her again. It's impossible to celebrate when we have such pain in our hearts. According to detectives, Marina was last seen around 6 p.m. leaving the grocery store. DJ Lockhart, Marina's former boyfriend and father of her young son Landon, told police he saw Marina being driven away from the store by an older man. Lockhart told police Marina got into a silver, beige or gold 2009 to 2011 Mercury Milan with multi-spoke rims, a spoiler, and a shark fin antenna at the top, driven by a middle-aged Caucasian male with glasses. They apparently drove off in the direction of Boelter's apartment. Boelter's companion, who has not been publicly identified, told police Marina said she would attend his house party later that evening, but she didn't want him to know where she lived, and asked to be dropped off at a closed-down pizza restaurant. She has never been heard from again. Boelter was reported missing after she failed to show up for work at the Eiger the next day. She also missed visitation with her young son. Her disappearance remains unsolved. Trying to get through each day without any answers or clues to what happened to her is its own form of torture. Someone out there knows what happened, someone knows where we can find her. Please release us from this terrible hell and bring us peace. We deserve to know. I pray that 2020 brings us clarity and closure. If you have any information about Marina or her disappearance, call Indiana State Police at 812-384-4411, Crime Stoppers at 866-446-4672.
Number 10.
In the days leading up to her disappearance, Dawnita Wilkerson sent the names of 2 men to family and friends. Her family said the men, one of whom Wilkerson dated on and off for years, sent her threatening messages. The Courier and Press is not reporting the names because they haven't been charged in Wilkerson's disappearance, nor have police identified them as suspects. Wilkerson's aunt, Nora Martin, recalled her niece receiving messages along the lines of, "I'm going to get you, I'll kill you, and they'll never find your body," and things like that. When the Courier and Press followed up with Evansville Police Department about the family's allegations, they declined to comment. A close friend who asked not to be named due to safety concerns, said Wilkerson shared screenshots of messages from the ex-boyfriend, calling Wilkerson derogatory names, and threatening her safety, and the safety of Wilkerson's children. The morning of June 21 was the last time Wilkerson spoke to that friend. Over the phone, Wilkerson told the friend she was with the 2 men, the friend told the Courier and Press. "When she called me, she said she was afraid for her life," the friend said. That Sunday was the last day anyone saw her. Wilkerson was reported missing on June 22, 2020, after her family didn't hear from her, which was uncharacteristic of a woman who called her family every day. A family member who also asked not to be named due to fears for their safety, said the man Wilkerson had been in an on-again, off-again relationship with, made several threats to Wilkerson in the past, and was violent toward her on more than one occasion. He's been put in jail several times for beating her, the family member said. Vanderburgh County Court records show the man was arrested 4 times in 2018 and 2019 for domestic violence and battery incidents, with Wilkerson listed as the victim. He was convicted in a 2018 case for knocking Wilkerson to the ground and striking her in the back of the head after she refused to withdraw money from her bank account for him, according to the probable cause affidavit. In affidavits for cases that were later dismissed, Wilkerson told police that during an argument, the man threw her on the bed, spit on her and choked her. In another, he was accused of striking her in the head and face with a closed fist, and hitting her in the back of the head with a lamp. Police wrote in another affidavit that during an interview with Wilkerson at St. Vincent Hospital, she told them she was assaulted over a number of hours at her boyfriend's residence, resulting in injuries to her face and left shoulder and arm. The man reportedly threatened Wilkerson with a knife and hit her in the head with a perfume bottle. Wilkerson further reported the man would not allow her to leave and threatened that if she left he would send people to kill her children, the affidavit said. Wilkerson filed at least one protective order against him, which was dismissed when she missed a scheduled hearing. In the course of the 3 cases that were later dismissed, the court handed down no-contact orders. Wilkerson's family learned after her disappearance that the man's relationship with the courts extended to Illinois and spanned decades. Online court records reveal 4 convictions for domestic violence or battery in 2 Illinois counties between 1987 and 2009. Records show 4 different women filed for protective orders against him in those Illinois counties. Wilkerson's family member said Wilkerson changed her phone number in the weeks leading up to her disappearance. Wilkerson reportedly argued with the ex-boyfriend over the phone after he discovered her new number before she disappeared, they said. She had told several people a few days before she went missing that if something happens to her that the unnamed man and a family member did it, the family member said. The family member said they spoke to Wilkerson the morning she disappeared, when she called and asked if they knew anyone with a gun. I believe she knew something was going to happen to her, the family member said. Martin said she was one of the people with whom Wilkerson shared her concerns. Yes, she said it to me, Martin said of Wilkerson expressing fear of the man hurting or killing her. I often asked her, why do you keep associating with them, if you know that they're bad people? But that really doesn't matter. At a joint press conference Wednesday, the Evansville Police Department and Federal Bureau released additional information to the public about the circumstances around Wilkerson's disappearance. Evansville Police Detective Jeff Hands said police initially released that Wilkerson was last seen June 21, leaving a person's house. Hands revealed Wednesday she was last seen at 8:16 a.m. on June the 21st, leaving an East Side motel in a silver Chevrolet Suburban with a sunroof and tinted windows. It drove west through southwest Indiana and into southern Illinois. The police originally said the Suburban was a 2016 model, but released an updated flyer Thursday that said it was a 2004 Suburban. Hands said Wednesday that the owner of the vehicle had been identified, but was not cooperating with the investigation. Wilkerson's family member said one of the 2 men Wilkerson feared is the owner of the vehicle. That press conference was for the public, not for the family, because we knew everything that they said, Martin said. Not one thing that was said was a shocker, new to us, she said. So they've been sitting on this information for I don't know how long. Well, for a long time, I do know how long. For a long time, you know, telling us you need to keep stuff to yourself. Since day one, they've known that's the last person she was with. Martin didn't want to speculate on what may have happened to her niece or where she may be. We want to be hopeful and positive, but it's hard, Martin said. Police ask that anyone with information about Wilkerson's disappearance or whereabouts call the FBI at 317-595-4000, the tip line at 812-435-6194, or the Evansville Police at 812-436-7979.